Ethan had always been a soldier, stationed in different parts of the galaxy. But when he was sent to the peaceful planet of Zara, he didn't expect his mission to be anything like the others. The planet was known for its beauty and calm nature, with its people focusing on trade, technology, and peace. There was no war or conflict here, just an endless desire for knowledge and progress. Zara wasn't like other alien species Ethan had met. She was the princess of her people, someone who had always been surrounded by advisors, teachers, and other high-ranking officials. But despite her position, she had a quiet and gentle nature. Zara's people didn't believe in emotions like lust, love, or desire. They thought such feelings were distractions, only causing confusion and disorder. Their focus was always on logic and the well-being of their species. Emotions were not something that played a role in their daily lives. When Ethan first met Zara, she seemed calm and collected, her alien features beautiful in a way he hadn't seen before. She had large, dark eyes that seemed to understand more than what she showed. Her skin shimmered with a soft glow that changed in the sunlight, and her movements were graceful. She was different from the humans he had known. Yet, there was something about her presence that was magnetic. Ethan was there for a mission. His orders were simple: help the aliens integrate human technology into their systems. He had no idea he would end up meeting Zara, the one alien who would change everything for him. As days passed, they spent more time together, discussing the advanced systems and technologies that Earth could offer. Zara was sharp and quick, absorbing everything he taught her with ease. But there was something else. Ethan started to notice little changes in Zara's behavior, small but noticeable. At first, it was hard to tell. Zara would often ask him questions that seemed strange. "Ethan," she once said, "why do humans care about things like attraction? Is it a feeling, or is it just ... a need?" Her words were soft, but there was a deep curiosity behind them. Ethan didn't know how to answer. It's just part of being human," he replied, feeling slightly uncomfortable with her intense stare. "It's hard to explain. It's not just a need, it's a feeling, something that connects us to each other." Zara nodded slowly, but she seemed more confused than before. "I see," she said, her voice trailing off. As the days turned into weeks, Zara's curiosity about emotions deepened. She asked Ethan more and more questions about feelings, what it felt like to love, to be sad, or even to be angry. But it was one question that caught him off guard. One evening, as they sat in the garden, Zara turned to him and asked, "Ethan, do you ever feel attracted to someone? Do you think about them in a way that makes you want to be close to them?" Ethan blinked, not sure how to respond. "I guess ... sometimes," he said. "But that's normal for us, isn't it? It's part of how we connect." Eyes widened slightly. "I felt something," she whispered, "but I'm not sure what it is. When I look at you, I feel different. Not like before." Ethan felt a slight tension in the air. He knew exactly what she was talking about, though he had no idea how to explain it. His mind raced. What did she mean? Is this the same feeling he had known all his life? Lust? Was she experiencing it now? But he couldn't be sure. He didn't want to make assumptions. For the first time, he noticed something in Zara's expression, a mixture of confusion and uncertainty. She was trying to understand a feeling that her people had never experienced. It was unsettling her. "I don't understand," Zara said, her voice trembling slightly. "Why do I feel this way? Is it ... because of you?" I stared at her, unsure how to answer. "I don't know," he admitted. "I've never seen anything like this before." Zara looked down at her hands, which were resting on her lap. She felt vulnerable, something she wasn't used to. Her species had never been affected by such emotions. Lust, attraction. These were things that didn't belong to their kind. She was the first one to feel it, and it was as if the whole foundation of her culture was crumbling. She didn't know if she should feel ashamed or if it was something that could be accepted. But what troubled Zara even more was the thought that maybe it was Ethan's fault. She had never felt this way before he arrived. Is it his presence that triggered this feeling in her? Could it be something about him, his being human, that had awakened something inside her? "I'm not sure what's happening," she whispered. her voice low. "But I think it's because of you." Ethan sat there speechless. He could feel the weight of her words, but he had no answers for her. He only knew that he cared about Zara, and the last thing he wanted was to cause her pain. Zara walked slowly through the grand halls of the palace, her thoughts racing. The conversation she had with Ethan earlier kept replaying in her mind. Feeling inside her, the strange emotion she had never known before, was it really caused by him? She had never felt this way in her life, and it frightened her. As the princess of her people, Zara had always been in control of her emotions. Her species didn't believe in things like attraction or lust. They were focused on logic, knowledge, and peace. Feelings like these were seen as distractions, weaknesses. The fact that she, Zara, the future leader of her planet, was the first to experience such feelings was enough to shake her. She couldn't talk to anyone about it. Her advisors and closest friends would never understand. They would see it as a threat to their culture, to the peaceful life they had built. There was no place for such emotions in their society. She would be seen as unfit to rule if anyone found out, but Zara couldn't ignore what was happening. Every time she thought of Ethan, she felt a strange warmth inside her chest, a fluttering sensation in her stomach. When he smiled, it made her heart race in a way that was completely foreign to her. She had never imagined such feelings were even possible. Later that evening, she met with her most trusted advisor, Talia, who had been with her since childhood. Talia was wise, and Zara had always trusted her judgment. But today, she wasn't sure how to bring up what had been happening. Inside her, how could she explain the unexplainable? "Zara, you seem distracted," Talia said as they sat together in the palace gardens. "Is something bothering you?" Zara hesitated. She had never lied to Talia before, but this was different. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Just some thoughts. Nothing important." Talia looked at her closely. "You can tell me anything, Zara. You know that." Zara stared at the flowers in front of them, unable to meet Talia's gaze. I think I'm feeling something strange," she admitted softly. "It's hard to explain. It's a feeling that doesn't make sense." Talia raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "What kind of feeling?" Zara bit her lip, trying to put her emotions into words. "It's like attraction, but it's more than that. It's deep inside me, and I don't understand it. I never have, and I think it's because of him." Talia looked confused. "Ethan," Zara whispered. "The human he's. I don't know how to explain it. I've never felt this way about anyone before." Talia blinked in surprise. "Zara, this is ... unusual. Our people don't feel like this. You sure? It's not just a passing emotion?" "I don't think it's just that," Zara replied, her voice filled with uncertainty. "It feels too real, too strong. I think it's because of him. His presence is affecting me in ways I don't understand." Talia fell silent, her expression thoughtful. She had known Zara her whole life and had never seen her like this. The princess was always so composed, so in control. The idea of Zara feeling something as unpredictable as attraction was something new, even for her. "You need to be careful," Talia finally said, her voice low. "Emotions like that ... they could be dangerous. Your people do not accept feelings like that. They might see it as a weakness, something that could harm the balance of your world." Zara nodded, feeling a sense of dread. She knew Thalia was right. If anyone found out, it could ruin everything. She couldn't let anyone see her like this. At the same time, she didn't want to ignore what she was feeling. "I don't know what to do," Zara admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "I don't want to feel this way, but I can't stop it." Thalia placed a hand on Zara's shoulder, offering what little comfort she could.
Oh.
"You don't have to go through this alone. But you also need to understand that your people may not understand what you're feeling. They won't understand why you feel this way about a human." Zara nodded again, feeling a heavy weight on her heart. "I know, I'm afraid they won't. Accept it." That night, as Zara lay in bed, her mind raced with thoughts of Ethan. She couldn't deny it any longer. She was drawn to him, not just as a teacher or a friend, but in a way she had never felt before. She was confused, and the more she thought about it, the more certain she became that Ethan had caused these feelings. She didn't know how or why, but it was clear to her now. The next day, when Ethan came to the palace to continue their work together, Zara couldn't look him in the eye. Her feelings were overwhelming, and she was afraid he might notice. But how could she explain to him what was happening? How could she tell him that he had somehow changed her world, her thoughts, and her heart? Ethan, noticing her change in behavior, asked, "Is everything okay, Zara?" Zara hesitated, unsure of what to say. The words seemed stuck in her throat. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I need to understand something first." "Can you explain?" "What attraction really is. How do you know when it's more than just a feeling?" Ethan was taken aback by the question. He didn't know how to explain something so deeply human to an alien princess who had never known such emotions. But he could see the genuine confusion in her eyes, and he knew that this was a question he needed to answer. Even if he didn't fully understand it himself, "I can try," he said quietly. "But I don't think anyone can explain it perfectly. It's just something you feel, something deep inside. It's not always easy to understand, but when it happens, you just know." Zara's heart raced as she listened to him. Was this what she was feeling? Was this attraction? Zara spent the following days in a whirlwind of emotions. She had never experienced anything like this before, and it was both confusing and overwhelming. Each time she saw Ethan, it was as if the world around her disappeared. Her heart would beat faster, and a strange warmth would spread through her. She couldn't understand it, but she couldn't ignore it either. Ethan, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to her inner turmoil. He was focused on his work, teaching Zara more about human technologies and helping her people understand how to integrate Earth systems into their own. But Zara noticed how kind and patient he was, how he always took the time to listen to her, no matter how small the question. It made her feel special, and every little smile he gave her felt like it meant more than just a friendly gesture. Despite the growing feelings inside her, Zara tried to keep her distance. She told herself that her emotions were just a phase, something she could ignore and eventually forget. But no matter how much she tried to push them away, it only seemed to grow stronger. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace gardens, Zara found herself unable to hold back any longer. The quiet between them had become unbearable, and she needed to speak. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft, "I don't understand what's happening to me. You're different from anyone I've ever met." Ethan turned to look at her, his expression kind. "How so?" Zara struggled to find the right words. "You make me feel things I don't know how to explain. Never felt this way about anyone before. You've caused something inside me to change, and I don't know if I should be afraid of it." Ethan was silent for a moment, as though he was processing her words. "Zara, you're not the first person to feel that way. It's natural. Attraction, emotions, they're part of being alive, part of being human. But I'm not sure how it works with your people, or if what you're feeling is different." Zara looked down, unsure how to respond. "I don't know what to do. Feels like my entire world is changing and I can't stop it." Ethan reached out gently, placing a hand on her arm. "I don't want to make this harder for you," he said softly. "But you're not alone in this. You don't have to go through it by yourself." His words were comforting, and Zara felt her heart settle a little. But she still couldn't understand why she felt this way, why it was Ethan who had triggered these emotions in her. She had tried to convince herself that it was just a misunderstanding, but every moment with him proved her wrong. That night, Zara lay awake in her bed, staring up at the ceiling. She couldn't stop thinking about Ethan, his smile, his voice. The way he treated her was all so different from what she had expected. She had always thought humans were strange, distant, and so different from her people. But Ethan had shown her a side of humanity that was full of kindness and warmth. It wasn't just his kindness that made her heart race. It was the way he made her feel important, the way he listened to her, truly listened, as if her thoughts and ideas mattered. Zara had spent her entire life surrounded by people who had never truly understood her, who only saw her as the future ruler of their people. But Ethan made her feel like a person, not a title. The next day, as she sat with Ethan again, discussing Earth's technologies, Zara's thoughts were clouded. She could barely concentrate on the plans they were reviewing. she wanted to tell him how she felt, wanted to understand what was happening, but she couldn't bring herself to speak the words aloud. "Are you all right, Zara?" Ethan asked, noticing her distracted expression. Zara looked at him, startled, as if she had been caught in her thoughts. She nodded quickly. "Yes, just ... thinking." Ethan smiled. "If something's on your mind, you know you can talk to me." Zara's heart fluttered at his words. She felt like she could tell him everything, but she also feared it. He didn't feel the same way. What if her emotions, her feelings, only made things more complicated? I don't know if I can explain it," she said, her voice quieter than before. "But there's something about you, Ethan. Something that makes me feel ... different. Something that makes me want to be near you, even when I try to push it away." Ethan didn't speak right away, looked at her for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. Then, softly, he said, "Zara, I don't want to make things harder for you, but I think I understand what you're feeling." Zara's heart skipped a beat. "You do?" Ethan nodded. I think I feel the same way. I care about you, Zara, more than I ever thought possible. But I know it's complicated. I'm human, and you're not. Our worlds are so different, but I think we can figure this out together." Zara felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. She had been right all along. There was something between them, something real. But could they really understand each other? Could their feelings survive the challenges their worlds would throw at them? As they sat there in the quiet of the garden, Zara realized that she wasn't alone in this journey. Ethan understood, and that meant more to her than anything. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Zara felt like she could face it without fear. She took a deep breath and smiled at Ethan. "Thank you," she whispered, "for understanding." Ethan smiled back, his eyes full of warmth. "Always, Zara, always." As the days passed, Zara's feelings for Ethan became harder to ignore. Every time they met, every time they talked, she felt that deep warmth inside her. But something was changing within her people, and she could sense the shift. Zara had always been the future leader of her planet, the one who would guide her people into a new age of peace and prosperity. But now she felt unsure of what that future would look like. Her advisors, those who had been with her for years, began to notice a change in her behavior. They saw how much time she spent with Ethan, how her expressions softened whenever she spoke of him. The whispers had started. People began to wonder if the princess was becoming distracted. Her people had never placed much value on emotions. Love, attraction, and even friendship were seen as unnecessary. They focused on the collective good, the harmony of their society. One afternoon, Zara walked through the halls of the palace. She was met by Korak, one of her most trusted advisors. Korak was a stoic man, known for his sharp mind and unyielding loyalty. Zara had always respected him, but today, his presence made her uneasy. "Zara," Korak said, his voice firm but respectful, "there is something I must address with you." Zara turned to face him, her heart racing. She knew what was coming. "What is it, Korak? I've noticed ... changes in you," Korak said, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You've become distracted. Your work has not been up to the standards we expect of you. Your people look to you for leadership, for direction. And yet, I sense a shift in your focus. It is not just the work, it's your behavior, your attitude. You've been spending an unusual amount of time with the human, Ethan." Zara felt a knot form in her stomach. She had tried to keep her emotions hidden, but she could see now that it was becoming impossible. "I am still doing my work, Korak," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am focused on my duties. Nothing has changed." Korak did not seem convinced. "Zara, you must understand. The peace and harmony of our society are built upon logic and reason. Emotions like love and lust, they have no place here. Have evolved beyond such things. If you continue down this path, it could bring instability to our world. There are those who are already questioning your leadership. They wonder if you are ready to rule." Zara's chest tightened. She had always known that her people viewed emotions as weaknesses, but hearing it from Korak made it all too real. She didn't want to disappoint him or her people, but at the same time, she couldn't deny what she was feeling. "I understand, Korak. Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I don't know how to stop it. These feelings, they're real, and I can't ignore them. Korak's expression softened, but only slightly. Zara, I care about you, and I care about our people. I don't want to see you make a mistake. That could harm us all. You must make a choice, your duty to your people or your ... feelings. The words stung. Zara had always believed in the importance of her people, of leading them to a better future. But now she felt torn. Could she really turn away from what she was feeling? Could she ignore the bond she shared with Ethan? Later that evening, as she sat alone in her chambers, Zara couldn't shake the weight of Korak's words. She knew she couldn't ignore her people's expectations, but she also couldn't ignore her heart. The more she thought about it, the more certain she became that Ethan wasn't the problem. The problem was her culture, her people's refusal to accept emotions like hers. Ethan had been kind to her, understanding in ways no one else had been. He had shown her a different side of life, one where feelings mattered, where people connected with each other beyond duty or logic. And though she feared what her people would think, Zara knew that what she felt for Ethan was something real, something she could no longer deny. The next day, she met with Ethan in the gardens, the place where they often spoke in private. He smiled at her as she approached, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. But this time, Zara wasn't sure how to begin. Ethan, she said softly, there's something I need to tell you. Ethan looked at her with concern. What is it? Zara. She took a deep breath, gathering the courage to speak her truth. My people, ... They don't understand what I'm feeling. Oh. They believe emotions like this are dangerous, that they'll bring chaos to our world. Korak, my advisor, he told me that I have to choose between my feelings and my duty. I don't know what to do. Ethan stepped closer, his expression softening with understanding. Zara, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you this. What you feel is real. No one has the right to tell you that it's wrong. You deserve to feel what you feel, just like anyone else. If you choose to follow your heart, I'll be here for you. Zara felt a mix of relief and fear. She had never expected Ethan to be so supportive. She had feared that he would tell her to forget about her feelings, to focus on her duty. Instead, he had done the opposite. He had given her permission to be herself, to embrace what she was feeling, without shame or fear. But as she looked into his eyes, she knew that the hardest part was yet to come. Her people would not accept this, and she didn't know how to face them. The world she had always known was beginning to shift, and Zara didn't know if she was ready to let go of everything she'd been taught. Still in that moment, standing beside Ethan, she felt a new sense of hope. She wasn't alone, and maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to bridge the divide between her heart and her people. Zara stood in front of the large window in her palace, staring out at the vast landscape of her home planet. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden light across the fields and mountains. It was beautiful, and yet in that moment Zara felt a sense of heaviness in her chest. Everything around her seemed unchanged, but her world had shifted in ways she couldn't ignore. The conversation with Korak earlier had only made her more uncertain. The pressure to choose between her people and her own feelings was overwhelming. She had always believed in her duty to her planet, to her people. But now she wasn't sure if she could ignore what was growing inside her heart. She turned away from the window as the door to her chambers opened. Ethan walked in his presence, calming her in ways she hadn't expected. He'd always been there, offering his support, never once pushing her to make a decision she wasn't ready for. His kindness was both a comfort and a source of confusion. How could someone from another world understand her better than her own people? I thought I might find you here, Ethan said, with a soft smile. Zara gave him a small smile in return, but didn't say anything. The weight of the decision she was facing was too much to put into words. I've been thinking about what you said, Ethan continued, his tone serious. About your people, about your future. I know you're under a lot of pressure right now. But I want you to know that whatever choice you make, I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. Zara felt a lump form in her throat. His words, so simple and sincere, touched her deeply. She had never been good at expressing what she felt, especially when it came to matters of the heart. But Ethan made it feel okay, like it was safe to admit the feelings she had tried so hard to ignore. I don't know what to do, Zara finally whispered. If I choose to follow my heart, if I choose you, I'm afraid of what it will mean for my people. Won't understand. They'll see me as weak, as someone who isn't fit to lead. Ethan stepped closer, his expression soft but determined. Zara, you don't have to make this choice alone. I don't want you to feel like you have to choose between me and your people. But the truth is, your people need a leader who is strong in every way, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if your heart tells you that this is the right path, then you should follow it. Zara felt the weight of his words sink in. He was right. Leadership wasn't just about logic and rules. It was about understanding people, feeling for them, and leading them through difficult choices. And if she couldn't be true to herself, then how could she lead anyone else? She looked at Ethan, the one person who had never judged her, never questioned her feelings. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. What if my people turn against me? What if they see me as unworthy? Ethan reached out, gently placing his hand on hers. You are worthy, Zara. You are more than capable of leading. But you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in your feelings. Your people may not understand at first, but if you show them the strength in your heart, they'll come to see it too. Zara's heart swelled with emotion. For the first time, she felt like someone truly understood her. She wasn't alone in this. Even if the road ahead seemed uncertain. I don't want to be a disappointment, Zara whispered, almost to herself. I don't want to let anyone down. Ethan gave her a reassuring smile. You won't let anyone down. The right people will understand. And those who don't, well, maybe they're not meant to follow you anyway. Zara looked at him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of doubt, but there was none. Ethan's words were honest, and they gave her the strength she needed. I've always been told that emotions are a weakness, Zara said softly. But now, I'm starting to believe that maybe they're not. Maybe they're what make us strong. Ethan nodded, his eyes full of admiration. Exactly. Emotions are what make us human, and that's something worth embracing. I've seen what you're capable of, Zara, and I know that whatever decision you make, it will be the right one. Trust yourself. Zara felt a warmth spread through her as she gazed at him. His support, his belief in her, was everything she needed. Maybe, just maybe, she could trust herself after all. As they stood there in the quiet of the room, Zara made a decision. She would follow her heart. She didn't know what the future held, or how her people would react, but she knew that she couldn't live a life of denial. Her emotions were a part of her, just as much as her intellect and her strength. I'm going to talk to my people, Zara said, her voice steady for the first time in days. I will tell them how I feel. I will show them who I truly am. Not just as their leader, but as someone who understands the strength of the heart. Ethan's eyes softened with pride. I'm proud of you, Zara. Zara smiled, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. Thank you, Ethan, for everything. And as she walked with Ethan by her side, Zara felt the weight on her shoulders begin to lift. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, she was ready to face it. Not as someone who was hiding from her feelings, but as someone who was ready to lead with her heart. The following days were filled with uncertainty. Zara had made her decision. She would speak to her people, to the council of elders who governed the planet with strict logic and tradition. It was not going to be easy, she knew that. But she also knew that she could not continue living in fear of what they might think. She had to be true to herself, no matter the cost. Ethan stood by her, offering his quiet support. He'd always been there for her, even when the world around them seemed to be falling apart. Zara appreciated his presence more than she could say, but deep down, she knew the most difficult part of this journey was yet to come. The council would not be easily swayed. They were proud of their traditions, and emotions like the ones Zara had started to feel were seen as weaknesses, as Zara prepared to meet with the council. She felt a knot form in her stomach. The weight of her people's expectations pressed down on her, but she reminded herself of the truth she had come to understand. Emotions were not a weakness. They were part of what made life meaningful, and she could no longer deny that. She stood in front of the council chamber, her heart racing. Ethan had come with her, standing quietly beside her for support. They had decided that this conversation would be open, honest, and direct. Zara would speak for herself, and she would not hide behind her duties or her title. When the doors opened, Zara entered with her head held high. The council members were already seated at the long table, their faces stern and unreadable. They had always been formal, but today Zara could feel their eyes on her with a new intensity. They knew something was different. Zara said, "Counselor Raller, the eldest and most respected of the council, what brings you here today? Your presence is unexpected." Zara took a deep breath. This was it. "I've come to speak the truth," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "For too long, I have tried to ignore my feelings. I have followed the path set out. For me, by tradition and duty. But I can no longer do that." Council exchanged quiet glances, and Zara could see the confusion in their eyes. They were waiting for her to explain, to make sense of the words she had just spoken. "I've been spending time with someone from another world," she continued, her gaze steady. "A human named Ethan, and through him, I have come to understand something I never truly understood before." She paused, searching for the right words. She needed them to understand, needed them to see that her feelings were not a threat. "I've come to realize that emotions, things like love, trust, and even attraction, are not weaknesses, are part of what makes us strong. They allow us to connect with others, to understand one another in ways that logic alone cannot." Counselor Raller's face tightened. "Zara, you speak of emotions as if they are something to be embraced. But you know as well as I do that our society has no place for such things. We are strong because we do not let emotions cloud our judgment. The unity of our people depends on reason and logic, not feelings. This distraction you speak of could destroy everything we have built." Zara felt a pang in her chest. She had known that this would not be easy, but hearing it spoken aloud hurt more than she had expected. She had been raised with these same beliefs, taught to value logic over all else. But now, standing in front of the council, she knew she could no longer accept them as the only truth. "I understand your concerns," Zara said, her voice soft but firm. "But I no longer believe that emotions are a distraction. They're part of who we are. I believe that as a leader I must be true to myself. I must acknowledge my feelings, not hide them away. I do not ask you to agree with me, but I ask you to understand that I will not ignore this part of me." For a moment, the council was silent. The tension in the room was thick, and Zara could feel every pair of eyes on her. She looked at Ethan, who stood quietly beside her, offering a reassuring smile. She knew that whatever happened next, he would stand by her. That thought gave her the strength she needed. Counselor Raller stood slowly, his hands clasped behind his back. "You are the future leader of our people, Zara. If you choose this path, you must be prepared for the consequences. Your actions will change the way your people see you. You will no longer be the symbol of our traditions, but a leader who has embraced something else." Zara nodded. "I understand, but I also believe that change is necessary. I do not want to be a leader who rules out of fear or tradition alone. I want to be a leader who connects with the people I serve. I want to show them that it is okay to feel, to care for one another." The room was still. No one spoke for what felt like an eternity. Zara could hear her own heartbeat, the sound of it filling the silence. Finally, Counselor Raller spoke. "You're certain about this, Zara? This path you wish to take will not be easy. It will challenge everything we have known." "I am certain," Zara said, her voice unwavering. "This is the only path I can take." There was a long pause before Counselor Raller sighed and nodded. "Very well. If you are certain, then we will respect your decision. But know that you will have to face the consequences. You will lead in a new way, and your people may not understand at first, but we will follow you if you lead with conviction." Zara felt a sense of relief wash over her. The council had not agreed with her, but they had accepted her decision. And that, in itself, was a victory. As the meeting concluded, Zara turned to Ethan, her heart lighter than it had been in days. She had made her choice. It was not going to be easy, but it was the right one. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly free. The days after the council meeting were tense. Zara knew that she had made a bold choice, one that would not be easy for her people to accept. But she also knew that the path she had chosen was the one that felt true to her. The weight of her people's expectations had been lifted, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. She wasn't sure what the future would hold, but she was ready to face it. No longer hiding from what she felt inside, Ethan stayed by her side, offering the kind of support that Zara had never experienced before. His kindness, his understanding, and his belief in her gave her the strength to stand tall, even when the road ahead seemed uncertain. Together, they worked to strengthen their bond, not just as allies, but as to people who had come to understand the importance of being true to themselves. Zara's first step was to address her people. The council had agreed to give her the time she needed to speak with the citizens of her planet to explain her decision. It would not be easy, but Zara was determined to show them that her feelings didn't make her weak. She hoped that, in time, they would understand. One afternoon, as she stood before a crowd of her people, Zara felt a mix of fear and anticipation. The city square was packed with citizens, their faces full of curiosity and expectation. She had always been the symbol of tradition, the one who would lead with logic and reason. But today, she was going to show them something different. Zara took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "My people, I stand before you today to speak the truth. For many years I have followed the path that was set before me, a path of logic and reason. I have done so because I believed it was the right way. But I have come to understand something new, something that I can no longer deny." The crowd fell silent, waiting for her to continue. Zara felt their eyes on her, their judgment weighing heavily. But she pushed through it, speaking from the heart. "I've come to understand that emotions, things like love, trust, and even attraction, are not weaknesses. They are part of what makes us human, part of what makes us stronger. I have felt these emotions, and I believe that embracing them does not make me unfit to lead. On the contrary, I believe that these emotions connect us, make us care for one another in ways that logic alone cannot." Zara paused, allowing her words to sink in. She looked out at the faces in the crowd, some skeptical, some unsure, but she could see a flicker of understanding in their eyes. She wasn't just speaking for herself, she was speaking for every person who had ever been told that their feelings were a burden, a weakness to be hidden. "I know that this will not be easy for all of you to accept," Zara continued, her voice steady. "Our people have built a society based on reason, on the belief that emotions should be set aside in order to achieve harmony. But I believe that we can achieve even greater harmony if we accept that emotions are not something to be feared. They are something to be embraced." There was a long silence, and for a moment, Zara thought that the crowd might reject her, that they might turn away from her. But then, a soft murmur spread through the crowd, and one by one, people began to nod in agreement. It wasn't immediate acceptance, but it was a start. Zara knew that this would take time, but she was no longer afraid. As the meeting ended, Zara walked down from the podium, her heart racing. She had done it. She had spoken her truth, and while she didn't expect everyone to understand right away, she knew that she had taken the first step toward change. Ethan met her at the bottom of the steps, his face filled with pride. "You were amazing," he said, his voice full of admiration. "I'm so proud of you." Zara smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Ethan. I couldn't have done it without you. You've been my rock through all of it." Ethan took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You've always had the strength inside you, Zara. You just needed to see it for yourself." Zara looked up at the sky, the sun beginning to set on the horizon. The golden light washed over the city, and for the first time, Zara felt hopeful. There was still a long way to go, but she had taken a huge step forward. She had stood up for what she believed in, for the emotions that made her human, and she had done so with courage, The following weeks were a time of reflection and change. Zara continued to meet with the council and her people, slowly gaining their understanding. It was a slow process, but Zara remained patient. She knew that true change didn't happen overnight. It took time, effort, and the willingness to embrace new ideas. Ethan remained by her side, supporting her in every way he could. As their connection grew, so did their understanding of one another. They learned to navigate the challenges of their different worlds, finding ways to bridge the gap between their cultures. Zara had come to realize that her emotions, her feelings, were not something to be hidden. They were a part of who she was, and they made her stronger. She could still be a leader, still guide her people with wisdom and compassion. But now, she would do so with her heart open. One day, as they stood together, looking out at the horizon, Zara took Ethan's hand and smiled. "I'm ready for whatever comes next," she said quietly. "With you by my side, I know we can face anything." Ethan smiled back, his eyes filled with warmth and hope. "I'm ready too, Zara. Together, we can make the future brighter." And for the first time, Zara felt certain of the path ahead. It would not be easy, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready to lead with her heart, knowing that she had the strength to guide her people, not just with her mind, but with her emotions as well.